Inside this box right here is a blaster that's going to give 3D printed springers a run for their money. This right here is the Valkyrie from Symbion. And this thing right here is a blaster that brings some really amazing things to the table. So in today's video, we're going to take a look at it. We're going to get some chronograph readings, check out its accuracy, give our overall impressions of the build quality and everything that's going on here. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. The first area I want to talk about with this blaster is the overall build quality. This thing feels like a super high quality product. I believe it's a nylon or something, but it is just wonderful. It feels great, feels sturdy. This up here on the front is a bearing scar. It does come in all black. I threw some safety tape on there because I was filming in my backyard and I didn't want to cause some concerns, although it is a very aggressive looking blaster, so keep that in mind. You know, full disclaimer, probably wouldn't take this one to a public area and play with it. This is a private event blaster only. Now, the build quality does not extend to the sight. The sight is it's cheap. I'm not gonna say the sight's great. You can tell from the plastic quality of the sight versus the plastic quality of the blaster, very different. Magazine, also very good build quality. Only came with one magazine. And yes, I did test various other types of magazines. So we got Talon mags, which don't even fit. The angled talons, same thing. So the cool thing about the slimmed down Nightingale talons is they do fit. It doesn't hit the catch or the mag release, so that's not gonna work, but the lips do fit up in there and you can successfully feed darts. So possibly we could get some type of insert upgrade or something, maybe do a friction fit thing, but it is possible. Unfortunately, like I said, one magazine, really wish it gave us 2 or 3, but you know, whatever. I'll have to check out, you know, getting some more because it's kind of weird to run something like this with one magazine. Moving on from build quality, let's talk about operation. This thing operates just like, you know, a Talon Claw or a Caliburn, and it is just your standard, you know, prime it back. Well, a little bit different in that regard. It does have a return spring which pushes it forward. Always throws me off. I'm just not used to it. You notice I had to give it a little extra push at the end. That is because I did have to change out the O-ring, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Magazine release is right here. You can easily reach it with your pointer finger. And as you can see, when the blaster is, you know, not primed or whatever, it doesn't matter. You can still insert your mag and pull it out. Back here, we have an adjustable stock. Push down your button. You can push that forward. That right there is what I'm not crazy about. So you can actually, with enough force, just pull the stock off. I don't really like that. I wish it would lock on a little better. I don't know if that's a feature, but you know, sometimes I'll accidentally give this thing a little tug and it will fall off. The whole top of the blaster has Picatinny, which is really nice. They did provide these iron sights and of course the scope. Scope is just very generic. You just have a little button you push. That's actually one of the adjustment buttons, or it's fake. So you just turn it on, it just basically lights up. The fake red dot or hollow sight type of display. It is not real. Whatever, looks cool, but I don't know if I'm actually gonna run it with anything. And moving on, we're gonna take a moment to talk about the overall ergo and aesthetics of it. Like I mentioned earlier, be careful with this blaster. It is a very aggressive looking toy. So, you know, I highly encourage you to play, you know, either at private events, you know, inside, that kind of stuff. Even playing on private property, you know, people seeing this thing, they could mistake it for something it's not. So, you know, just be safe with these things. And of course, you know, if you're in America or in a place where orange tips are recommended, I also encourage that. What do I think about the overall look of this blaster? I think it looks really nice. It's a very cool looking blaster. I think the ergo of it feels great. It just has a really good feel to it. The stock right here, I'm not 100% sold on. It's a little bit uncomfortable. I think it could get rid of some of the angles here, but it definitely does the job. Let's take a moment to go over what's in the box. This blaster comes partially assembled, so you got to put it together somewhat. Got the spring and everything, and the barrel and the scar barrel, all this stuff is really easy to take apart. You know, you could almost field strip this stuff out in the field really quickly, maybe even in between matches. That's how easy it is. I am curious as to what other springs we can put in here. This spring right here is not the most highest performance spring, I believe this blaster could definitely be upgraded. And in the overall design of it, of how it's constructed, it seems like that was their intention. So this blaster can be easily upgraded. That leads us into our next section, performance. Now, performance-wise, here's where things got a little bit interesting. The O-rings that were provided for this blaster, in particular the front one, the little one that goes over where the breech seals, kept falling off for me. And I did encounter problems after attempting to do slam fire. I know this blaster can't do slam fire, but I was just trying to demonstrate that, you know, it can't. So it did kind of shotgun it. However, one of the darts, I think, actually pulled the O-ring off, or something weird happened. I'm not even really sure. Maybe the O-ring just was never seated properly, but yeah, I ended up shooting the O-ring out, which isn't good. And then after that, I was just having a lot of issues until I found out, oh yeah, the O-ring's gone. So that's worth talking about. But we'll go ahead and show some chronograph readings. The first set of numbers were actually done with these. These are the new worker darts. I like them because they're red and they seem like a very good dart. So I just wanted to test with them. All right, so we're outside. Let's grab some chronograph numbers. 119, 112, 114, 63, ew. 90, 100, 99, 84. That was my O-ring falling off. Fortunately, it's pretty easy to work on this blaster. To get the barrel out and get into that O-ring over there, we just basically pull this off, and then we can slide the barrel out. Oops, I just scratched that. That sucks. Whatever. And we can get to this. Got that right there. So I'm gonna throw a metric O-ring on here. Let's see. It's got a sorted kit. I think this is a number 10 or 11. I'm gonna throw 11 on there. My plan is to kind of stretch it out a little bit. That way it doesn't keep popping off, because like this thing's been giving me a lot of trouble with popping off with the O-rings that are provided. See if that's any better. Put this return. It's the prime return spring. I don't know if I like that or not. I was debating just pulling it out. And I am shooting the new worker darts today. They're very similar to what came with it, so performance should be pretty similar. O-ring's a little big. I think it'll be okay. Let's go get some chronograph readings. So not too bad, a little over 100. I believe I should be getting 130 FPS with the darts that are provided. Let me go find those. As you can see, these numbers were not the highest. So the darts that came with the blaster are very similar to the Adventure Force Pro Dart. I have one of each here. You can see their dart's a little bit darker, and the foam density seems to be a little bit more firm. So let's go ahead and get chronograph readings off those and see what kind of numbers we get. Yeah, 130. 134. 127. 133. And 134. So clearly the darts that came with it are a little bit higher performing for feet per second. So let's go ahead and take a look at some range footage. As far as accuracy is concerned, this blaster is a great performer. I was shooting a target at 30 feet, and I can see this thing also being a good tagger at about 50 feet. I believe if I actually took this hollow sight off, got rid of it completely, I'd probably get a little bit better shots with it. This thing is actually just pretty much for looks, in my opinion. So in conclusion, the VALKYRIE. This is a blaster that, you know, was sent in for review by CSNoobs, so thank you for sending it in. I personally think this thing is really cool. Highly recommend it. The price is somewhat reasonable, but keep in mind this build quality is amazing. I'm just really blown away as to how nice this thing is. The biggest thing for me for this particular thing is, you know, if I had an option between, you know, maybe my Lynx or my Caliburn or, you know, a Talon Claw or whatever, going to a war, I think I'd rather go with this. You know, find a good spring that's gonna help get it to the FPS ranges that I need. This isn't gonna be, so when you're out in local wars now, I just noticed there's a lot of DZP stuff. So everyone's got their, you know, their Mark IIIs or their Aeon Pros or Nexus Pros. This thing's unique. Like, people are gonna be like, wow, this is pretty cool looking. It's pretty unique. Now, back to what I said about public use, you know, I'm looking to actually I would like to paint this thing up into brighter colors. As far as, like, you know, leaving this thing in a hot car or dropping it or kind of banging it around and stuff, this thing's gonna last. You know, this is gonna be a much more solid offering. Definitely at the private events, I'm gonna be running something like this. I wanna get a better spring to get the FPS more consistent around 145-ish, because our local games are 150. So, you know, I really like the 150 FPS cap, and getting this to be a steady, good performer at 150 with a scar, a bearing scar. I don't have a lot of background with the bearing scar, so I do want to do testing with this. I think this is just a really good, solid offering. Well, I'm DrFlux. I want to thank you for watching today's video. If you got to the end, please consider subscribing and make sure to click that little notification bell so you can see when we make new content. As always, I want to thank you for watching. Be safe and happy foam flinging. Hello, DrFlux's editor here. My name is Luke, and as I'm going through the footage, I realized this sight was on backwards. So basically, I just wanted to have a quick disclaimer that I do know how a EOTech type of hollow sight is mounted. I did consider refilming all this, and, you know, so you never know, but then I realized, hey, it's an opportunity for me to say hi. You know, I am Luke Bird, the person behind the scenes of DrFlux. And also, recently, Xshot has sent in a blaster, as we can see here. Amazing that there's an actual, you know, picture of DrFlux on here, but they didn't put DrFlux. They put Luke Bird. At first, I was gonna do kind of what Legit Bread did and kind of tape it out, but I'm like, whatever. Why does it matter? If people want to find out who I am, it's pretty easy to do in this day and age. So, there you go.